I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brinley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Luther, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of Idaho high school athletics. It's great to have you with us. It's 12/11. It's Wednesday night. It's another holiday edition of the East Idaho Prepcast. My name is Joel Richardson, and let's bring in our East Idaho expert and insider, Sean Kane. Sean, you got 7 more days of school left. How are you feeling, man?
Oh, I'm glad you're counting.
My kids are.
I'm feeling pretty good. It's been hard out there. The coaches have really helped us out and put us in a situation to win the rest of the days remaining. But as the intro came in, I'm thinking we got to update the intro at some point. But
right?
that was my whole focus on all that. But yeah, it'll get through. These are, they say the 2, couple tough weeks in the education field, but it hasn't been too bad. We're trucking along pretty well. So
right on. And hey, everyone out there in internet land, again, great to have you with us on Facebook, YouTube, on IdahoSports.com's Twitter page as well. Hey, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. So those out there who want to hear this show, and then also we're going to intro and have a little interview with Century Boys basketball coach Ryan Frost. We want everyone to be able to see that. So if you wouldn't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. Let's fuel the algorithm so everyone can hear and listen to the East Idaho Prepcast. And Sean got a great guest today, a friend of yours, a fellow teacher there at Century. Should be a good interview tonight, man.
Yeah, Coach Frost is I hope he's a friend, but yeah, it's great.
We'll ask him soon.
Yeah, we'll put him on the hot seat. No, great coach, a great person to have at Century. I'm always pretty thankful that he's there, and I'm just gonna quote Brandon Bainey, who I used to do the show with. He always talks about Ryan Frost as a coach that can take a C player and make him a B player. Take it, that's just what he does on the court, and it's a phenomenal thing. And I'm just really glad he's here to, so we can dive into some boys basketball.
Yeah, let's do it. So without further ado, let's bring in the man of the hour, Ryan Frost, the head coach of the Century boys basketball team. So far, they are 2-2. They had some struggles last year, looking to improve on this year. And the man that can do that is that guy right there, folks. Head coach Ryan Frost. How are you, Coach Frost?
Good, Joel. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Coach, let's we promised 10-15 minutes and we'll get you out of here back to what really matters. But to start this interview, we want to know, Coach, what are you excited about this year with this team? What's maybe going to help you guys be a little bit better than last year? And then what are some things that you want to improve on as the season progresses? Like we said, 4 games in, 2-2, good start so far. What are you liking and what do you want to improve?
It's kind of funny you said this. We talked to our kids at the first of the year, and I said, guys, had a piece of paper in front of us, and on paper we look good. But paper tigers aren't always what you want in February. So we're trying to figure out how to translate what's on paper to what we want to do in games, and it takes some time. Obviously, I mean, we had a lot of youth playing a lot of minutes last year, but we're such a different team. We're still learning through some youthful mistakes. Unfortunately, we didn't win as much as we wanted to last year. So we're in a different situation this year where we're up in games or we're battling in the fourth quarter in a game. So they're still learning a lot of things right now. And we're just trying to preach all those small things so that it can carry over into February.
Yeah, that's great. That's funny to bring up the paper. I'm pretty sure I said that to you earlier in some of the pregame stuff. Yeah, the team looks really great on paper. Played really well last night. About that youth, kind of an interesting story, right? Is Luke Webb. he's pretty youthful, right? Because he didn't really play basketball.
So Luke's played with us all 4 years. Didn't know he existed until he showed up for freshman year, because they were transplants from I believe the Sacramento area. And Luke's just kind of transformed. Like, his body's totally different than he was when he was a freshman. He was kind of skinny, short, didn't look like he was around a lot of sports. And the last like 12 months, he's changed his body significantly. He's a big, strong kid. He's grown probably another 2 inches, and we've seen some good things from Luke.
Yeah, I just bring him up. I met youth, like he's older now, but he kind of has grown into this spot and big guy, and he had a great game last night against Shelley.
Yes.
He did a lot of the things that aren't on stats, right? Diving for balls, getting rebounds, setting screens. He did a good job there. And you guys started off 3 road games, which is tough, right? So maybe, and trust me, I know about being on the road, but maybe just talk a little bit about how that is. And obviously, you got to win wherever you play, but starting off 3 road games, and kind of that translates into the district, right? Our District 5 is small and very competitive.
Yes.
So just maybe speak on that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot. So the road games, we went 3 games on the road in 1 week. It was a long week for me. Still kind of coming back from being sick and my voice from yelling and stuff. So it was definitely a challenge for our kids, but I like to do some challenging things for the boys, especially like you're saying, it's not a district game. We're going to eventually have to play maybe a back-to-back situation later in the year where it's important games. So let's get them used to it early. So it's never a bad thing to have some adversity early in the season. And speaking of adversity, our conference, what a hard 3 teams that you could possibly be. It's funny that you brought up Brandon Baney. I was looking at the recap to the season for this year that you guys posted, and I didn't even know some of these. I knew our league's good, but I'm quoting him now. It said over the past 4 years, we've had 200 wins from the 3 teams. So that's averaging 16 wins per a team over those last 4 years. I mean, that's just insane to have 3 teams be that good consistently. We were kind of lacking maybe the last couple of years, but the years before we were up there, and it's a shame that all 3 or even 2 don't get a chance to play in March.
Just shout it from the rooftops, Coach. It's something Sean and I were talking on Twitter, I think the last few days, all about that. District 5 and 5A only sends 1 team when it definitely should be sending 2, and maybe have 2.5, right? Have that play-in game.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, tell us about your players, because you guys are going to have a better season, I think, than last season. You went 0-4 against 2 of the top teams in 4A, now 5A. You were 518 overall last year. You guys will have a better season. You got Adrian Gonzalez, only a junior, Jordan Wilkinson, the forward, Paige Oweed, the great soccer player, by the way. He's one of our favorite names in Idaho sports. But you have those 3 players. You also talk about Luke Webb. But you mentioned that it's gonna be a challenge when you're up, and like, we're not used to winning. You know what I mean? We're not used to being up. So you have these players with that veteran experience. Are any other players that come to mind that you feel like, okay, we got to get those guys up to speed, or they're going to be up to speed, that we should be watching for?
Yeah, so we're kind of in a 7-man rotation right now. So you named a bunch. So like, you're going to hear Adrian's name a bunch, Jordan's name a bunch, Peja, Luke, Deegan Crabtree's played extremely nice for us the last 4 games. Being a 6'8" kid that can move,
he's tall.
Makes life for us. Yeah. You mentioned Peja playing soccer. One of his buddies, who's also a senior, Max Agers, is also a soccer player. I always like soccer players that play basketball. They see the court well. It makes sense to them when they're getting ready for someone to get to that opening lane and transition. So they do a good job of seeing each other. And then sophomore Justice Mangum has done a real good job. He comes off the bench and sparks us, and can get some really athletic rebounds, and can shoot it, can score the ball. And so it's nice having guys on the bench that can sub in, and it feels like we don't miss anything.
Love that. And just a little plug, Justice Mangum, when he came in for football, he provided that spark on the football field. He just made things happen. I like that he's that spark for you guys on the hardwood. And then I did this for your soccer, your soccer line, because I love to play soccer. I love to play basketball. And when I've played basketball with soccer players, they're a little bit rough around the edges, but they get lanes, right? They get those passing lanes and they know how to space. So anyway, I like that you shout out those soccer players for basketball.
I'm big on multi-sport athletes, especially 5A schools, 4A school, like smaller schools. I think you have to have kids that play multiple sports, and I think it translates. In my experience, kids that are good at sports are just good at sports, and they like to compete. So, let's get them on the field, the court, the tennis court for Coach Kane, whatever it may be. Let's play and let's have fun.
I feel like Peja could definitely play tennis. Like
I think he could too. He's kind of
I don't have any
too. Yeah,
I don't have any doubt. He just he's cool. He's pretty cool and collected out there. Adrian Gonzalez, I thought he played phenomenal last year. He played very well last night. I think it was 20 points. He hit 5 threes. I think I had to ask 15 times because I didn't feel like he hit 5 threes. And I say that because he's not forcing up shots. He's doing it within the game, and I kind of felt like he's kind of a player to kind of highlight was Adrian. And how do you see him? And he only being a junior, kind of how you see him developing through the course of the year and maybe being that kind of team leader. But you guys have good depth, right? I think that's what you just kind of illustrated is the Century Diamondbacks are a little more deep this year on the bench. And I think that's going to play big as the season goes on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Adrian's kind of been the straw that mixes our drink right now, so he kind of gets us going. But I think there's other guys that can do it too. It helps with him. He got a lot of minutes last year for us, so he's a junior, but he's playing like he's a senior just because he's kind of been through it before, which has been really nice. And if you watch Adrian play, he's got a motor. Like he goes hard and he doesn't practice too. It's one of those things. It's hard to prepare for a kid like that because he's never sitting still. He's always running around doing something good for us. But it is nice, like you said, Sean. I feel like we got some guys that can step up on random nights that you might not notice. There might be 2 games where you don't notice this kid, and then this kid scores 15, and your scouting report, you're thinking, well, where's this kid come from? We know he's capable of it, but I don't think everyone else is. So it's nice knowing that on random nights we get 3 or 4 guys in double digits that out of the 7 guys we kind of talked about there.
Coach, what are some of the culture things, some of the rituals, if you will, that you guys have that helps your team bond? I know you're just getting started. You're having guys come back from football, so maybe there was some banged up. You maybe haven't gotten to a rhythm, but can you speak to any of those kind of culture, those fun rituals that you guys have to kind of get your heads in the game and play as a team, stay together?
So it's funny you said that. We're big on defense at Century, and when was it? It was like a year or 2 ago in the off season. I was just bored and I started just diving into film and just like, what's a stat that just shows that we win games? Like everyone always like, yeah, rebounds or a shooting percentage or how many turnover, like whatever it is, like there's always stats to look at. I'm a math teacher, so I like looking at numbers. So I started just diving into what stat makes us win games. And the one common one that I found was when we hold teams to 50 points or less. Over my, 8 years at Century, going into my 8th right now, if we hold a team to 50 or less points a game, we're like at a 90% win, if that ever happens. So like last night, we held Shelley to, I think it was 41, end up winning. So we're starting to preach that a little bit more in our kids. It's just when you have defense that holds a team under 50, you're going to have a chance to win the game, and it's mostly a real good chance to win.
Right on. Last question for me. Sean might have one more, but I have one, and we're going to put you on the hot seat, Coach. You don't have to answer
it. You're good.
But after we let you go and get back to your actual things that matter, we're going to talk about we're going to give a little boys preview. Some of the teams that are most intriguing to us here in East Idaho. So we're going to put you on the spot here, Coach. Again, you don't have to answer, but if you're a friend of the program, you'll give us something to chew on. Okay. So coming out of East Idaho from 6A to 1A, give us a few teams, especially for 5A, and you can't choose Century. They're intriguing. You guys are very intriguing to me, by the way. I think this 5A District 5 is going to be phenomenal to watch. But who are some of the teams starting with 5A, and you can go through some of the classifications as well, coming out of East Idaho, boys basketball, that you're intrigued by. They may not be great teams, but that you're intrigued by, that you're going to be watching throughout the season, maybe even circle on your game schedule.
Okay. So if we're staying in 5A right now, definitely like our whole league it's brutally tough, especially having one end up going to state. I feel like any one of us could end up going there and causing a lot of damage. Preston's kind of showing that they're maybe the favorites right now just because they returned the most from last year, and I think they're well coached too. So they're kind of the front runners right now. Doesn't mean they're gonna end up being there in March, but probably some odds are in their favor right now. If you go north of us, I know Hillcrest has got a big win against Pokey the other night, and they've got some good athletes. It showed on the football field, and I'm sure it's going to show on the basketball court as well. And they're used to winning as well, and I think that's contagious. If we move up to a 6A, it's got to be Madison right now. If you're going to pick the favorite, watching what the Humphreys kid just getting his 1,000 points, and it feels like Madison just always finds kids. Yeah, like you kind of don't know who they are, and they have a brother. Like, holy cow! Yeah, some random kid that just shows up, and he is just good at basketball. So they just do a good job of kind of grooming kids and getting them to want to play Madison basketball there. And I would say Rigby's kind of a scary dark horse. They always have good athletes in football, and I think Coach Jones is a really good basketball coach. So I think they're going to always kind of have a chance up there too. Kind of random for us for 5A. Bonneville just got a big win against Thunder Ridge last night, and we play them on Saturday. And watching some film on those guys, they look like they've gotten a lot better from a year ago. So maybe they could cause some damage over in that classification as well.
I just have one more question. So we're gonna look, like I said, Joel said, we're gonna talk about a little bit about boys basketball preview. And as I'm going through the teams, there's a lot of new first-year head coaches every year, right? Hillcrest is his first year, but he's been a part of the program for a while. There's just a lot of new head coaches. Maybe you can kind of explain or kind of give a reason why you've staying, or you've had some staying power. Maybe just because no one else wants to do it. No, I'm just joking, but you know what I mean?
Called me old, it feels like. Yeah. Well, gosh, I'm my 8th year,
but that's an old coach now. When you go look, except for Snake River, and we'll get to that later. He's been there 32 years.
Coach Combs has been there forever, but it's crazy that the norm of a coach being at a school for double digits is just non-existent anymore. Like me getting close to 10 years is kind of monumental of a coach in the same school that long. It's weird growing up. My dad being a coach, being a Highland for
30.
Yeah, 27, 33 years, whatever that range, like forever being there and coaching. A Billy Hawkins at Madison, basically being there forever. A Kerry Cade over at Bora High. Like I remember just growing up and watching those 3 schools play all the time, and it was like you just know the coach from a little kid to when I'm a grown man, and I know these guys have been coaching forever. Versus it feels very uncommon for a coach to get 5 years nowadays, which I think it's a little bit of everything. Like it's a hard job, and it's a hard, thankless job sometimes. And unfortunately, sometimes parents and people outside of your circle can make it harder. But I think if you stick with it, it's rewarding. It's fun. There's nothing funner than coaching a kid and then seeing him when he's older and married, having kids, being successful, and kind of thinking he might not have thanked you then, but he thanks you later and kind of understands the process a little bit more when he matures and grows up. And it's so rewarding.
That's awesome. And that consistency that carries over, right? For if you can have that consistency, you establish that culture, and that wins games, right? That wins championships. That gets you to state and beyond. So I don't know. I get it that people move because it's a hard job, and you're also trying to maybe move up as a coach or move out and get a different experience. But I think there's a lot to be said for those coaches who've been there a long time. A lot of success comes from that consistency.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you're there and you kind of get your a lot of those guys too, I mentioned it was a lot of the same coaching staffs for a long time too, or you have a coaching staff and a lot of guys want to coach. So for example, like people that coach under my dad, there's a Cody Shelley who coached at Blackfoot and Century for a long time. There's a Joe Green that was coaching at Pokey, and he coached at Highland before me. I coached at Highland before, and at Century now. Gosh, I was thinking of this list the other day. There's so many.
We got to
people,
go. You got to give
Nate,
Don Birch.
Yeah. Don Birch,
when I was at Pokey,
who's coached at all three schools in Pocatello for, gosh, I would be wrong whatever number I said, but
does he have it in his notebook?
30. Don's classic for having a notebook and taking notes every day. It's got to be 30 plus years. So when he was with Coach Evans, there's another name that was for at Pokey forever. So he was with Coach Evans for a long time. He helped Cody Shelley at Century for a long time. He helped my dad at Highland for a long time. And now he's helping me at Century again for a long time. So guys like that. My other assistant, Greg Birch, his son. Greg's actually coached with me since I was coaching like freshman JV basketball Highland back in like 02 to 04 range. And so it's just nice having guys that really like to coach and are willing to do it, because like we were saying, it's a hard, thankless job on most nights, but it's so rewarding and fun to have those guys around.
That's awesome, Coach. Well, we've held you longer than we promised we would. Apologize for that. But do you want to, before we finish, any shout outs, any players or family or, folks who are kind of behind the scenes who don't get a lot of credit usually that you want to shout out before we close?
Oh, I would be silly not to shout out my wife and my family, especially my wife. She always makes the comments that she's a single wife during basketball season, and then
totally.
But last week she was being gone three nights, and then the other nights always, worrying about basketball, because whether we lost a game or won a game, there's always something we got to fix, and then something to worry about the next night. So definitely her. She pulls a lot of weight in the house during November to March time. So truly appreciate her and love what she does for me and the family.
Right on, Coach. Well, we'll let you go. Good luck in your preparation for Bonneville. That should be a great game. And we'll be watching you guys and maybe quietly cheering for you because you came on our show the rest of the way.
Well, Bill, appreciate it, Sean. Appreciate it, Joel. Thanks for what you guys do as well. It's always nice to get just more things about Southeast Idaho and basketball and football and all the sports that you guys help cover. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks, Coach. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye-bye. All right, Ryan. What a great dude, that Ryan Frost, man. I want to hang out with him more often.
I try to, I try to, it was good. And the question about the coaching came later, right? Because I was just thinking about that going through the preview, and there's just not a lot of coaches that have this, long time in the arena anymure, right?
Yeah, 8 years, man.
And now, 8 years you might not even think was anything, and now it's like, it's kind of becoming, that's almost a long time. And I found that very interesting. But yeah, Coach Frost is a great guy. He does a phenomenal job there. My kids are starting to play basketball, so I always go bug him. He's probably like, what is this guy talking to me about little kids basketball? But
is it right or left? Is it right or left?
Ryan? It's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother, basketball is a whole nother world. I'm a tennis guy, and it's a different atmosphere. I kind of think of it as something like it looks really nice on the outside, but kind of once you get into it, it's not as nice.
Totally.
It's a little stingy. It's nice having coaches like Coach Frost and different coaches East Idaho. I mean, Ty Jones and Preston, he's been there a long time. Does a phenomenal job. And we just have, and we've talked about this before, we just have really good coaches in East Idaho, and it makes a big difference. And I feel like for the most part we get a little more out of them. We get the 50,000 tire tread, not the 20,000. So nice. Yeah.
I love it. And I was actually thinking about when you suggested, hey, I can get Matt Frost and we could bring him on. And I was doing some research, and I was reminded of what we talked about. Why does East Idaho continue to be so well in sports? And it's that coaching factor. And Matt Frost, another one of those great coaches, Sean. Right. Hey, let's talk about our player and team of the week, and then let's get into our boys basketball preview, Sean. Well, actually, we're gonna go a little maybe different flow. We're gonna do our player of the week, which is gonna be from boys basketball, and then we'll go into our boys basketball preview, Sean.
Okay.
And then we'll do our team of the week, which is from girls basketball, and we'll go into some girls hoops, including especially the Ririe Shootout. And we'll try to get out of here before the hour. That's the goal.
All right. We'll hold you to it.
All right. So let's do it. Player of the week, Sean, is going to come from Highland's junior Tracen Tripple. The dude is a transfer, Sean, from New Plymouth Pilgrims, the high school of, I believe it's the high school, right, of our fearless leader, Paul Kingsbury. Yep. Junior Tracen Tripple from Highland. Sean, he dumped 9 threes the other night, 27 points total in a 56-54 win over Shelley in Highland's opening game. He's our East Idaho Prepcast Player of the Week.
Yeah, a phenomenal job. And the cool thing about that game, too, is Highland got to play at Highland. I think it was the first time in a while they kind of had like a true home game. There was a lot of fans. They'd had some more flooding issues in that gym. That second gym is what they're using right now, and got it ready for the game, and everyone was pretty excited to be there. So I think from a standpoint, it was really nice for the Rams to play basketball in the Rams arena. And Tripple, what a last name to hit 9 threes, right? And New Plymouth. And it's funny, you think a few years ago I covered boys basketball and where New Plymouth had made it, and it's kind of interesting. But what a nice job by him. 27 points, you get the win, home court, that's very cool. And he broke the record, right? The record was previously 8, and it was 29 years. That was a 29-year-old record. So talk about some longevity. That's a 29 year record that Ryan Frost's dad, Chris Frost, was probably the coach for most of those 30 years.
Right.
Nice job by him.
And that record had been set by his dad, Tennyson Tripple. So keeping that record in the family is awesome. So congrats to Highlands junior Tracen Tripple, 9 threes, 27 points. He is our East Idaho Prepcast Player of the Week. Okay, with that, Sean, boys basketball, we're going to go from 6A all the way down to 1A. And Sean, we're going to discuss back and forth our favorites or our intriguing teams, most intriguing teams in each classification. Let's start with 6A. Sean, who is your favorite or most intriguing team this year?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to go with Madison, and Coach Frost kind of alluded to a little bit too. I think Rigby is sneaky good. But I'm just going to go with kind of what we have rolling early in the season and go with Madison, which lost, Bear Wilson, just a dynamic player. But I think a lot of people forgot that Nash Humphreys is still on the team.
Right. He's still there, scoring 1,000 points.
He didn't graduate. He hit the 1,000 points mark. They had some games, just a few games in, and he was averaging 28 points, 8 assists, 3 steals. They played last night. They played Skyline, not a conference opponent, but definitely a rivalry, right?
Definitely.
Up in East Idaho. And Madison beat Skyline 72-30. Nash Humphreys had 16, and the freshman Wade Bailey had 15. So those two alone scored more than Skyline. I think Madison just has a lot of firepower. They've got a couple other guys that are tall and lanky, but they also can hit 3-pointers pretty well. So I think that Madison team, if you had to call it today, that's the team I'm taking out of there. But, I think Rigby's good. I think, I think Highland again is a team that you're not going to want to play night in and night out.
Right.
Thunder Ridge as well. You've just got some teams. And then you also have a new twist in that conference with Canyon Ridge, so we'll have to see how those conference games pans out. But right now, Madison is the team I'm kind of interested in.
And I was looking at Rigby. I've noticed their schedule's a little bit softer to start their first 3 games, but Rigby's doing well so far. So yeah, I'm intrigued by Rigby if they can keep this up as the season goes on. I did have to shout out Madison along with you, Sean. With Shane Humphreys, he's in his 4th season. We're talking about longevity again. 4 seasons is even long. It's not just a great hotel chain, right? But it's a long time in high school basketball. So Shane Humphreys in his 4th year has been just marching with his Madison Bobcats team. Last year, they were 24-3, 6-0 in conference. Their last title was 2011. Man, they got to play some tough SIC teams from Boise, but maybe this is Madison's year. But if it is their year, it's going to be a lot thanks to great coaching from Shane Humphreys and their star player. So yeah, Madison definitely intriguing to me as well. And you mentioned Highland and Rigby. Highland, I would say for me, is more that 2nd slot, and Rigby that 3rd slot. But we'll see what Rigby can do. All right, Sean, 5A. We've already tease this out a little bit. Preston, obviously, they're number one. Is that a team that you're really sure on as part in terms of the favorite coming out of East Idaho?
I mean, if you are gonna say Preston boys basketball is going to be good, it's not much of a bold statement.
That's right.
I mean, Ty Jones in his 15th year, they're off to a 4-0 start. They didn't lose a conference game last year. Don't make it a state because they lose in districts.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jake Schumann. He's a big guy. He was doing it on the football field. You got Cruz, Harris. They got a good cast of characters. They graduated a lot of people, but the young people that are back played significant minutes for the Indians, and I think they're going to be good. And they played Burley last night, 63-28. I'm just it's hard to bet against Ty Jones, and they do this thing. They have this culture of they have 6'3" guys that can run, shoot threes, pass. They just have really good teams. They have a good job. That conference, again, like we're saying, District 5, 5A. I mean, Pokey isn't going to be any slouch either. The defending champs come back. They lose a lot of people. And I think Century, again, as a team, you got to keep an eye on. They're deep. Yep. And the one question I didn't get asked Coach Frost to talk about a little bit, but is they have a lot of good size. They have small, they have tall. They've got it all. They've got a really good mix. They can put different looks at you. And like you said, Deacon Crabtree down in the center is like a true big man down there. And you don't see a lot of that. And that helps a lot too. So, but definitely, sorry, Ryan, but Preston is kind of the team. I mean, they're hungry, man. They've been left out. They've been, they're at the kiddie table the last 2 years. They want the adult table, full sides, turkey leg. But yeah, I think it's going to be tough. And 3 teams, 1 goes. You have one bad night. It doesn't even matter, right? Obviously, you want to get that bye, win the district, and get the bye, but you still are going to have to beat a team twice. It doesn't really matter how you slice it.
Yeah, definitely. Preston went 4-0, Sean, and you mentioned this in our conversation leading up to this Prepcast. Preston goes 4-0 in conference play, and they don't get to the state tournament because they lose 1 game in the district tournament, which is just brutal and unreal. And you and I have gone back and forth on that with other guys on Twitter about how we need to make that change. And there may be some changes in the wind, Sean. So we'll see what happens with that in the next few years. But yeah, Preston, 100%, they've been at the kiddie table. They're ready for the adult table to hang out with the big kids. And I think this is their year. I think Pocatello takes a step back. They lost to Hillcrest. Ryan talked about that during our interview. They lost to Hillcrest last night. It was a close game, but Hillcrest edged them out. It wasn't pretty as well. I read a great article from the East Idaho News about that game, and it was kind of it was an early season game, right? Both those teams haven't had a lot of time to mesh, especially Hillcrest, who are the 5A football champs, and half their team played football, if not more than half. And so they've had like 6 practices, I think, what their first year head coach said. So I think Pocatello takes a step back, Hillcrest takes a step forward. A step forward. They won the whole thing. They were runner-ups last year. But I think Hillcrest stays. They stay at strong, maybe take a slight step back as well. So I meant step back, not step forward for Hillcrest. So I think this is Preston's year. I think this is their year. If they don't lay an egg, if everyone stays healthy, I think this is Preston's year to go deep finally, or to get to the state tournament and then go deep.
Yeah, I think that's if you had a magic ball, or you're gonna bet right now, that's the bet you want to make early season. Yeah. I think it'll be I think who knows what's going to happen. I think when you only have 3 teams night in and night out, it's going to be a body of work, and it's going to come down to the end. I think for District 6, I think Hillcrest is probably towards the top of that list, but you've got a very sneaky Bonneville team, a good IF team. You've got that normal kind of District 6. I'll tell you too, Shelley is no slouch either. I watched them last night. I think they might just lack some depth off the bench, but Brett Crandall, point guard, shooting guard, he can go out and make some things happen and play defense. So Shelley's not bad either. So District 6, again, it's going to be it's a tough show every night. The crowd isn't always happy.
Yeah, definitely. And just really fast, I got to tell you these scores, Sean. For Preston, 58-47, 65-47, 63-28, and then 62-34 have been the totals so far. Just amazing defense, and no one in the range of 10, 11 points. So really great stuff from Preston. I like your takes on District 6. Shelley 0-3 to start the season so far, Sean. That's not normal for Shelley basketball, but they'll figure it out, and they'll definitely be a force as the season goes on. Okay, anything else from 5A, Sean, or we'll go back? Let's go down to 4A then. Let's hit 4A. Who's your favorite or the most intriguing team for 4A boys basketball?
Well, I will tell you this. At one point, I was going a different direction with this, but then I just started looking at Snake River. And Snake River,
you have to look at Snake River.
I mean, I'd have to look like this to them. For a 4A team, they've got some height. I think it's 3 or 4 guys that are over 6 feet. They got a super tall sophomore, Bridger Howard. He's 6'9", Joel, 6'9".
Jeez,
and
sophomore.
He played some last year, and the reports are he's kind of grown into that 6'9" frame and could be dangerous. Robert Combs, the coach, is his 32nd year. He's got 500 wins. 5 state titles. Everyone kind of thought they were going to be the favorite last year. Kind of got some hiccups, and I just didn't really think of how good this team was coming back with Dawson Jackman, Marcus Combs, the son. Man, they've got kids that are going to put up 1,000-point seasons, or not, career 1,000 points as they go. So I think the Snake River team is very dangerous. And it'll be very fun to see how the season pans out for them.
Yeah, last year, and then you mentioned, Robert Coombs. Is it Combs or Coombs, Sean?
I think it's Coombs.
Okay, Coombs. So yeah, their coach Robert Coombs has been there. This is 32nd year, as you said. And then last time they won a state title was 2013. But man, they're returning production after a 4-0 conference play last year, and then 23-3 overall last year as well. I like Snake River's chances to not only get to the state tournament, but go deep. So I like that call on Snake River kind of changing a little bit. I also like Teton. They're 2-0 to start. Head coach Jay Silver, great coach there. And it looks like I think they're playing North Fremont right now. They're playing the Huskies. If anyone has an update out there of that game, please let us know in the comment section. Please send us a score, an updated score. But yeah, I like Teton. Of course, you got Burke Nelson and Jake Strait, who are going to be solid for Teton. But Sean, I like the pivot to Snake River. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think Snake River too, as a team for basketball, I always feel like it just takes them so long to transition from football to basketball, but once they do, and if they can, the quicker they can do that transition. And maybe I'm over speaking it, but I just feel like sometimes that Snake River team just starts off slow. But if they can transition, have healthy guys, because they're deep into the football season, we know that. Right. Snake River and Teton are going to maybe have some battles. You'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, and then of course, there's always Sugar Salem. We'll watch out for those guys as they got Sean Freeman in their 12th season. In his 12th season, but they were 2-2 last year, 10-16 overall. But they won a state title, Sean, 2 years ago. So they had a rebuilding year last year, but this year they returned Riley Williams, Tyler Williams, Hank Carter, Ace Clark, Kai Peterson, and 4 of those 5 returning players are seniors. So Sugar Salem might have something to say as we've been discussing Teton and Snake River in that 4A. All right, let's go down to 3A. Sean, what a team or a few teams that are most intriguing to you or your favorites coming into the season?
Well, I'm going to have to go to the Southeast Idaho Conference. I think the Nuke, I'll let you go with Nuke. I'll go Southeast.
All right.
I find it very intriguing this year with the additions of Declo and Wendell.
Yes.
And Wendell is traditionally, obviously, not the powerhouse of football, but they're really good at basketball. Right. They continuously make it to state. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, having Wendell and Declo. And I think Wendell's really good. I also think Soda Springs is really good. And I also have a good feeling about Ty Brown and the West Side Pirates. Crusade just playing on that team. I think this conference again becomes just very competitive, and it's going to be difficult getting your spot to state. And with so many good teams now, adding 2 teams, I think Declo isn't bad either. They're going to come and play. Gavin Rasmussen from Declo, he made some incredible plays on the football field. He's a tall guy. I can see him transitioning very well to basketball and very quickly. So yeah, I just find this conference very interesting, but I kind of like Declo, Westside, and Wendell in no particular order.
I like it. I think those are great picks. And I'll talk about the new conference and the coaches poll, Sean, that was just published on IdahoSports.com. I believe it was today or yesterday. Coaches for the new conference are showing Ririe in first, Firth second ranked, and then a tie between North Fremont and Salmon, Sean. We haven't talked a lot about Salmon. And then coming in fifth in that fifth slot is West J. We've both had a chance to talk to Ririe's AD, Mr. Matt, and Matt's high on Ririe boys and girls basketball, but he talked more about girls basketball than boys basketball. So I'm very curious about this Ririe boys basketball team, who didn't make it to state last year, but they have a lot of returners coming in. I think the Ririe Bulldogs are going to be a force in that new conference. Anyone else, Sean, that intrigues you?
No. I think there's a lot. I like it in the East Idaho Conference. Also Soda Springs, I think, is going to be a dangerous team. They've got some really good players as well. I just think it's going to be tough, and we're going to have to see a few more games to
totally
kind of pick out some of the winners and some coaches polls too. Coaches know way more than us, right. and see where that pans out.
Yeah, I like it. And just a quick shout out for Firth Scott Adams. He's in his 6th season, but this is his 2nd stint. And they were 6-2 last year. They went to state. Firth went. They were that 7th seed, but they lost. But then they beat Declo in the consolation side, and then eventually they lost to their fellow foe, North Fremont, from that new conference. So the new conference dominated that consolation bracket, and so watch for Firth and North Fremont. But I still think Ririe is going to be a force there. All right, Sean, let's go to 2A. There's only 2 teams. Pick your poison, Sean. Butte County or Grace?
I'm going to go Butte County. Again, I think that's a team that's going to take a little time to transition from football, right?
Definitely.
We're at a 2A school. There's probably not a ton of just specific basketball kids. I have a strong feeling they're all going to be doing both football and basketball. And then we talked about this. They have a first-year head coach, Todd Jensen. And you see
from
this
Murtaugh football.
Yeah, if you see this more and more every year that you have these new head coaches, and last year they're 28. I think they were the first seed in the tournament, and they were good. They lost some people, but Keaton Archibald, Colton Karash, they're gonna have some players, and I don't think Grace is any slouch either. We'll just probably hit on them later.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll be following both these teams closely because, the winner goes. Is this where it's 1.5, Sean? There's a playing game, right?
I don't even want to look at that. But yeah,
I know. I'm sorry.
You win districts and you still have to play another game to get in. That upsets me.
Yeah, I know. But maybe again, there's some winds of change maybe blowing through Idaho high school athletics. So hopefully we'll have a change here. But I want to shout out just again Butte County, of course, Keaton Archibald and Colton Karash. They're honorable mention all conference players. Again, the conference is just 2 teams, but they're solid, and both those kids play football. So like you said, you're gonna have a lot of players transitioning, trying to recover from the football season, and they went all the way to the championship, ended up losing to Kendrick in that final. But watch for Colton Karash and Keaton Archibald to have good seasons, and Brandon Bainey from IdahoSports.com, our great friend, did a great job previewing that 2A and especially Butte County. So if you want more Butte County and Grace, go and look up the previews on IdahoSports.com. And frankly, for any other teams that you want a bit more preview on, they're up every day. There's more and more teams being populated for our previews only on IdahoSports.com. All right, Sean, last one for boys previews, 1A. There's a lot of teams in that Rocky Mountain Conference. Sean, what teams or team is most intriguing to you as your favorite so far for this season?
And I think I called this earlier, and then the preseason polls came out, and the preseason polls had Water Springs at the top of that conference. And I just wanted to point out that I called that.
You started it.
By no means do I think that it's a sure thing for Water Springs, but it's a team that's just been getting better and better every year. You've also got Rockland. Like, you can't ever sleep on a Rockland team.
Right.
Again, they're going to be maybe making a little transition from football to basketball
And cross country.
Yeah, and cross country. Rockland, it's 3-1 right now. They're off to a pretty good start. Water Springs still 2-0. Titus Driver, he's a big guy down low for Water Springs, is going to be good. Corbin Nelson, the guard. They've beaten North Gem and Salmon, which you previously mentioned, as some teams. So, watch out for Water Springs. I also think, like I said, Rockland's going to be good. You never count a Grace Lutheran team either. With the 6 or 7 guys that they have, it's always fun to watch. But yeah, I think it's going to be real competitive. I think, you've got Rockland, Grace Lutheran, Water Springs, North Gem, maybe even Ledore. And then it's like a who knows. I think that we had a lot of people kind of leave. I think we had enough seniors leave that it's a little more open this year, but I just have a strong feeling about Water Springs.
Yeah, definitely. And, Sean, I was looking at the coaches poll just really fast before we continue with 1A. Alturas Prep, they're also in the High Desert Conference for Districts 5 and 6 with Butte County and Grace in that 2A slot.
Yeah, they're independent or something, right?
Right. But in basketball, they're right there in the High Desert Conference, District 5 and 6 with Butte County and Grace. So we'll have to do some more research on Alturas Prep, and there should be a preview up on there, if not now, soon, for Alturas Prep. Okay, so back to 1A. Yeah, last year, Sean, you had Rockland was the 4th seed in the state tournament for 1A D2. Now it's 1A, and you had Water Springs as the number 6 seed. Water Springs loses the Garden Valley in a tight one, 50-45. They go on to beat Deary in the consolation bracket. On the consolation side, they beat Deary by 7, and they lost to their conference foe, Rockland, who also lost to Cascade in their first round game in the state tournament. So again, East Idaho dominating that consolation bracket. Rockland ending up being the consolation winners. Water Springs were the runner-ups on the consolation side. So that's a really strong. That's a really strong conference, and I like the Water Springs pick so far. I was trying to find their
I remember that I watched these games, and Rockland definitely could have won that first round. I think Rockland, could beat Camas County. Rockland definitely could have been the championship.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Those teams are the 1 and the 2 made it. But Water Springs definitely had a chance to win that game against Garden Valley. So close. Kendrick took care of Garden Valley. But you never know. Kendrick and Camas County were very strong. I think everyone had picked Kendrick to win that. So Camas County did a great job. But just if you think back to that, it's pretty close for Water Springs and Rockland to be in, maybe playing for 3rd place.
Definitely.
Just a couple of points. So very strong performances.
Yeah, and like you said, Water Springs already off to a 2-0 start. So I like Water Springs in that, and then watch out for Rockland Rockland. What was I going to say? Rockland and their host of cross country and football players. It's so cool when you have these opportunities to play. I just think it's, again, coming from a giant high school down there in Southern California where I grew up. You played one sport, right, and maybe 2. But it's so cool that these kids can play even 2 sports in season, right? Football, cross country, and then turn around and play basketball and have like significant playing time. I just think that's so special. And kids out there who are watching, enjoy that, because that's pretty unique.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's kind of the Idaho secret. I think it's what makes the fry sauce taste so good.
Definitely. Sean, that's our 6A preview. Of course, we'll be talking about these boys.
We're just giving a little taste.
But we want to give a little taste of what we're like. We want to get the conversation going, right?
I kind of got it going on Twitter a little bit.
Yeah, that was fun.
And got some good discussion. So that's kind of led to that. So everyone who responds to my posts, I appreciate it. I love having that conversation from a bunch of different some news reporters, some great news reporters that we got throughout Idaho, and it's fun to look at what people are thinking and get those ideas. So I love those conversations. But yeah, just a quick preview. We got a lot of teams in East Idaho. we got a lot of boys basketball season to go.
Yeah, definitely. And some of those guys you're mentioning, we had a great Jason Turner. I'd never known the guy.
Oh yeah, great articles for
the
Preston, Bear Lake, West Side area.
Yeah, he covers Utah State Aggies as well.
I know you're not a fan of that, but
it's okay. I'm a lover. I'm a lover, not a hater. Okay. But no, yeah, Jason's a good dude, and he knows ball. You can tell in some of his comments as we're talking about East Idaho sports and getting more teams into the state tournament. Jason was awesome. Obviously, Matt Harris joined the comment. Killer Sherman, Nate Bear. Just had a really fun conversation with those guys and trying to talk about, okay, who are some of the good teams, and then how can we fix this so we can get more good teams into the tournament and less, more deserving teams into the tournament.
Yeah, it's going to be. I feel like I don't know how many years I've been in this, but I feel like it's when me and Brandon,
not enough, Sean.
When me and Brandon get to districts. And it doesn't matter if it's 5A, District 5. There's always some bracket for districts where only one team's going to make it, and it just seems so bad. And I know the North has faced this. They, some of their redistricting and resizing benefited them to get some bigger conferences, so they don't have that as much of that problem anymore. I feel like, Boise area has never had that problem ever where they only get one in, but East Idaho, just down the East Idaho belt here, it's always been an issue and to me a really unfair thing for athletes, because it's not what best is for kids. I don't think.
No.
And and we always talk about making it fair and and sometimes we just got to look. Sometimes I think Idaho has a really hard time of looking at itself in the mirror. And saying, oh, it's okay to change.
Yeah.
It's okay to do, especially when it benefits the kids, the communities to get these opportunities, because limiting opportunities, and I'll stand on this until forever, that when we limit opportunities, we're going the total wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard for a lot of these schools. And I don't think anyone would be more upset about it than like Preston basketball, who's had the top 1, 2, or 3 team in the state the last few years, and not even an opportunity to go. They have an opportunity to win the tournament, and I get that. You got to win it. I get it. Yeah. And I agree with that too. But also, you get teams. I won't say from where they get 2 or 3 teams in, and
they get blown out.
And And was that the right opportunity to go to Boise and lose by 30? I don't know.
Right.
This is not where I fall on that. I feel, if we're gonna have a ranking, anyways.
Yeah, I know. Well, and to be fair, 5A, which was 4A before, in East Idaho is a disaster, right? If you win 2 or 3 games and you're in District 6, District 5, you're in the playoffs. So teams like maybe Idaho Falls and Bonneville, even Century in football, who are struggling, but they win enough games, they go to the first round of the playoff, which is great for them, sure. But it could mean you're keeping out somebody else. Now, but there's got to be a better balance. It's got to be a better happy medium, right? Where a team like Preston basketball, who is so good, who could win the whole thing, they got to be able to get to state.
And we do it in the other sports like track and wrestling. They have at-large bids for things to make sure that you're getting the best competitors in there. And I'm not saying we need at-large bids, but there's obviously some systems that would make some real sense, at least giving the getting the reps right, so you're equally shown there in state. But again, it's numbers. It's a thing where we're never going to be aligned with Boise, and it's okay, and because we just win. It doesn't matter. East Idaho wins, man.
And like, we don't need a 24-team playoff, but we also shouldn't have like an 8-team playoff, right? Or whatever it is. We can expand, right? Look at college football, look at NFL. They've adjusted, made things, and we can still improve things if they need to be improved. And right now in Idaho, at least for 5A District 5, we need 2 teams in that playoff, at least a play-in opportunity. Por favor. Okay, now we're speaking Spanish. All right, let's get back on track. Let's finish off, Sean, with girls hoops. Our team of the week is coming from girls hoop, it's got to be the Malad Lady Dragons, man. They won the Ririe Shootout. Matt Harris put on a great tournament last weekend. A lot of good teams there. Malad lost their first game to Bear Lake, and after that, Sean, they marched right through and won the whole thing.
Yeah, Malad lost the first game of the season, Bear Lake, and now they've won 7 straight. So they're 8-1.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah,
they beat.
They lost their regular season, won the tournament.
Yeah, they end up playing Ririe. It's a pretty tough game. They win that. They play Ririe again last night, and it's 49-24. So they just went back and played Ririe again. So Malad's just been on an unreal, just kind of quietly. And I talked about this on something else. I'm like, Malad is just kind of sneaking up on us as a team that I don't think anyone's looking at. Everyone's talking about maybe Grangeville or teams like that. And
yeah,
I think there's some good teams, but now I think for East Idaho, Malad's kind of proven themselves the team in 3A to beat. And we got to talk to Coach Trevor Jones. We kind of asked him, how it was going. He just said it was a great weekend. Matt Harris put on a great tournament.
Yeah.
Fast paced game. They put up 28 points in a quarter, 76 points in a night, and they had 5 players in double figures. They just had lots of people show up. Izzy Hancock had a game high of 25 points. Brindley Jones nailed 3 huge 3-pointers, a couple big shots. She had 14 points the second half to help secure the victory in the championship. He just said it was overall a great weekend for the girls, and they all stepped up playing. He said it's still early and they're trying to define roles, but he liked how everyone's stepping up when they need to make points, and they're just looking to continue to improve. They have great guard play, winning the turnover battle, create some pressure, and there's the common things, have less turnovers. And also he was really big. Coach Jones was on, getting rebounds. And he said that's been a big, important part is getting those rebounds. And it's worked, right? 8-1. So Lady Dragons, off to a hard start. Brandon Bainey and Ryan Skaggs are talking about Grangeville, and I had to chime in and say, "Hey guys,
Malad.
I think we're looking past the Dragons here, and it's early.
Sure,
but it's early until it's not, right? You're 8-1. Early was maybe a week ago. Now it's you're kind of rolling. So Malad, off to a great start. Like you said, Joel, they beat Ririe in that first or in the championship game of the shootout, and it was a close game. And Coach Jones said it was a battle, 59-50, and that was on Saturday the 7th. And then last night they play Ririe again. Wasn't as much as a battle. The Dragons took care of business, 49-24. They play the Westside Pirates this Saturday. But I look at their schedule.
Are they going to lose again, Sean?
I mean, they play Bear Lake again January 4th, and that's
okay.
That's the game I would circle.
That's highlighted, circled, starred.
But
it's gonna be awesome.
They were. I mean, early in the season they beat Melba 72-23. They beat American Falls. They beat Parma, 56-40. They beat Marsh Valley 57-25. They've really done a nice job. And I don't know if that first game, it was just first game jitters against Bear Lake, but that rematch, man, that will be, I think you'll know what you're getting from the Malad Dragons in that game. I think a lot will happen in between it, but to play that team again that beat you and a defending state championship team, it'll be really interesting to see what Trevor Jones and the Dragons can do.
For sure. And remember, Malad didn't go to the state tournament last year, Sean. Right, Grangeville was that first seed. Bear Lake ended up winning the whole thing as the 2 seed. So Malad's coming in as kind of the sleeper in terms of state favorites. Right, no one's looking at Malad, but here they are, 7-1, and they may not lose the game for a few weeks. So hopefully we haven't thrown the broadcaster's curse on the Malad Lady Dragons, but so far so great for the Malad Dragons, 7-1. And they are our East Idaho Prepcast team of the week. Sean, we got to shout out Madison beat Skyline 49-46. They're on that start like we thought they would be. They're doing well so far. And then Pocatello, the Pocatello Thunder, again, girls basketball, 7-0, Sean, behind a strong start from their 6-1 junior Abby Lusk.
Yeah, I'll go Madison. I think we're kind of interested in Madison. We're interested in Skyline. I think that's a good win for Madison over Skyline, 49-46. It's close.
Yeah.
You got some contrast to play. It doesn't really matter in the big picture of things because they're in different divisions, right? But a good game from Madison. I still think this Madison team is going to dial it in and maybe the team to beat in 6A. And then, Pocatello, I mean, we already talked about this before. We thought Pocatello was a team that is, if they're not there when we kind of previewed the other week, if they're not deep in a state run, you would have to, it'd be mind-boggling. Something would really have to go off the rails. They have Abby Luss, Kenna Garza. They just have a whole cast of characters that can get it done.
Totally.
They're off to 7-0 start. I was trying to pull up their schedule because I kind of want to look for a game that I would circle for them.
Well, yeah, they got Madison. Speaking of Madison, they have Madison. Oh, they're playing them tonight, Sean. As we're prepcasting.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so they're playing Madison. I want to say it is at Pocatello. So that's I'm very excited to see what the outcome is there. And then further down, so they have Shelley later on after the holidays, January 8th. They play Rigby January 28th. And then, of course, they're going to be in the East Idaho Holiday Shootout. That's the 3rd and the 4th of January. Obviously, they'll play Pocatello, but our Highland, excuse me. But they already just dismantled Highland 55-29 earlier in the season. So a couple games, but I bring up Pocatello, and we got to finish because we've gone over an hour.
All
Apologize. But I bring up Pocatello because, we predict these teams are going to do well. We talk to coaches. We kind of get a feel for things. Okay, Pocatello is going to be a favorite. But I guess it's good to see when we're wrong so often, when we're right every once in a while.
Yeah. And, and I guess you have a team in the Thunder. They have experience now. I remember talking about them being, they're all freshmen starting. And now we've got seniors. A lot of them have been in this program 4 years. Sunny Evans, the coach, she does a phenomenal job.
Yeah, awesome coach.
She, it's not going to be a surprise. I mean, my only concern is for the Thunder is I kind of look at their schedule and I wonder, are they going to be tested? And we talked about this a lot about, there's a score right there.
Sam Buffington coming in hot. Thanks, Sam.
Fourth quarter, Pocatello up 42-34. So not quite over yet, but I just wonder, and I'm just throwing this out here to you, Joel. I'm just wondering, is their schedule strong enough? Are they going to take any chips on the face, any bumps or bruises before they get to state? Because I feel like last year they played Skyline,
yes,
and some other teams. I'd love to see them play Blackfoot right now, the way Blackfoot's playing, but I don't know. Like, to me, I get a little worried. I don't know what teams they'll be playing in that East Idaho Holiday Shootout. I don't know if that, and there might be some teams there, and then if that's the case, and that's why you schedule the tournaments, and if they get some big competition there, and I'm not discrediting anyone they play, I just get worried that you're going to play a long season and never be in a situation where it's tight, and that's what I felt like kind of happened to them at state last year against Skyline. Got tight. I broadcast that game. It got tight. They just didn't quite not know what to do, and it got tight, and that showed at the end. They could have called a timeout at the end of the game that would have preserved a possession for them, and they didn't. They chucked the ball and threw it out of bounds.
That's right.
Those are things that if you don't have those situations come up, how do you address that? And I think Coach Evans and a lot of seniors, Abby Lusk, I think solves that problem easily. Insert her, give her the ball. She's the Scottie Pippen of girls basketball. I feel like she does it all. But yeah, I don't know. Do they have enough? Will they take enough chips? Hopefully they get some. Maybe they get rocked a little bit somewhere around the road, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, and maybe this Madison game might be interesting for them. But that's a great point. As I was looking at that schedule, Sean, for an interesting game, I gave you some teams, but no, you're right. A lot of those teams aren't going to be strong this year, or so far haven't shown they're going to be strong. Maybe they'll surprise us and be stronger as the season goes on. But yeah, so far Pocatello doesn't have a lot of it doesn't look like on paper is playing up against big teams. I like that Blackfoot 6-0, Sean. Shout out to Coach Ray Miotum, who was on the show last week. Great interview. But she talked about how strong her team is, and she highlighted Pocatello. So I would love to see that match, but that's not on the schedule this year, right? Sometimes you can't predict those things, but we'll see if Pocatello. I think they'll be okay if they don't play some tough teams, especially in those tournaments, because they have older players now. You're mostly seniors and juniors versus juniors and sophomores like they were last year. So even in those tough moments, if they haven't practiced, if they haven't had those in-game, taking it on the chin moments, then I'm thinking they're going to still be okay because they have more veteran experience.
Yeah, I'm
we'll see.
I'm not discrediting anyone. I think they played Rigby tight. I think Rigby is going to be a good team too. I just don't think we're at the point where we're going to start talking about them, but it'll come. Rigby will be a girls team we talk about. I can almost guarantee it. And they handled them pretty well. I'm not discrediting anyone. I just think you've got so much talent, so much experience, and you've really got to, sometimes you got to run the horse, right? Like you can't just let it be in the stable all the time. You got to get that horse out and run. And hopefully they get to do that, or they get to do it enough where they feel comfortable at state if it gets tight. And maybe it won't ever get tight. I mean, it could be this year. I think the team that, they're really got to, kind of keep their eye on is Middleton, who's dropped down. I think Middleton, they bring back a team that's very strong and played all 6A, last year. So, that's a team that's battle tested in the SIC night in and night out.
Yeah. All right. Last comment, and let's get out of here, Sean. From Killer Sherman, he was one of our friends talking back and forth, getting that conversation going on Twitter. But he says on Twitter, No Bear Lake makes you really like Malad and 3, District 4 or 5, 100% Killer. I like those Dragons. Malad and Wendell might be one of the best conference races in the state. And we'll just have to find out, folks, right? As the season goes on, we'll have one more week of games, including this week. So a week and a half more of games. And then we go into the holidays where a lot of shootouts. Yep. And then we go back. Yep. We go back, come back from holiday break after those tournaments, and we're
and it's
it goes hit
quick.
The ground running, conference, and then district play, and suddenly, Sean, we're at state broadcasting a state basketball. So 100% Killer. I like that take with Bear Lake out. Malad and Wendell are the favorites, and we'll just have to wait and find out how that all shakes out. Sean, enjoy the rest of your week. Do something fun. Keep those kids in line, and enjoy PAing for Century basketball, man.
Yeah, I'll be back at it Saturday for some boys basketball. So it's fun. It was fun to be in the gym last night for some boys basketball. It was
cool.
I missed it. So it was good. It's fun pace. I feel like football just kind of gets boring sometimes, to be honest with you. But like basketball, it's like it's even if it's out of hand, it's still going.
It's moving, right?
Like it just goes. Right. Like someone's gonna try to do something. Anyways, it's a lot of fun and
cool.
We'll get the 1997, 1998 Bulls music, Alan Parsons Project bumping.
I love it. Shout out to Matt Frost for coming on and joining us. Ryan. Why do I keep saying that? Ryan from Matt. Who's Matt Frost? Oh, he's the UCF coach. He was the Nebraska guy, now UCF or UCF Nebraska, back to UCF. Anyway, Ryan Frost. Thanks to Ryan Frost for joining us on the East Idaho Prepcast. Great to have him on. And shout out to Century Diamondbacks boys basketball. We wish them the best to let the rest of the way. And for the rest of you, that's Sean Kane. I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. And we'll see you next week on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.